What's up,
Hey,
homies?
hey,
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 homies.
hey. Oh, hey, you go. I go. Welcome back to the show where we take the purple crayon for a walk.
This thing.
This thing we do. Hello, Aaron. Hello, everybody listening.
Good morning, Chris.
We are coming to you with another fascinating topic. I think one of the things I love about what we do, I think we always make the topics relevant to today. And one of the things that's been on my mind the last week is I don't know if anybody else is seeing this, but I keep seeing more and more now. It's always been there, but I just see more and more greed, people squeezing each other for more. I want to get mine. I'm going to get mine. And I just have been really sensitive to it lately. So that'd be worth a
Interesting.
worth
Yeah,
a,
I'm
a worth
totally
a
down.
walk with the
I
purple
mean,
crayon.
greed is, there's this whole world in which, there's a conversation that this is we're going to be the first species ever to cause their own extinction because of greed.
Yeah,
Um, and there's definitely a world and a lens in which you look at the way we treat our resources and our environment that is unsustainable, and that and unsustainable and greed go hand in hand. I don't know that we could explore that connection, but greed is
yeah,
uh an unsustainable is the antithesis of sustainability,
right.
right? And then there's, well, tell me what you, so you've been riffing on it, you've been thinking about it for a while, so
Yeah,
we
I mean,
got a
there's some
lot of
places.
ways we could go, but I think
Yeah,
you have an
there's.
intention.
Well, let me just put some more fodder into the conversation and see what it stirs up. But I think, first of all, it's a great conversation around the tension between mindfulness and CEO because again, CEO, we're trying to grow things. We're trying to the game of business. It feels like a lot of times is how do we expand? Like it's boring to stay the same. Like let's take on new territory. Let's expand. And sometimes expansion becomes the predominant focus and not something else, right? Like impact, or how do we help more people, or how do we take care of our employees? Like why is growth always the conversation? That's the thing that starts to drive our reticular activator for, oh yeah, there's another opportunity, and then let's squeeze more out of our clients, let's expand the lifetime value of a customer, let's increase our bottom line. Like, so the game that's being played, whether we're intending to play that or not, seems to be the gravitational pull seems to be pulling us into how do we keep getting more? Let's get more. Side note, let me just add to that. Years ago, Jim Collins wrote a book called How the Mighty Fall. Have
Hmm,
you read this?
I have
Love this
not.
book. God, anything Jim Collins writes, I love. But
Yeah.
and all of his work, all of his books are come out of study, come out of rich research. And he looked at how great, and you speak about the countries, empires, businesses. He has these 5 steps that look at. Let me just find them really quick. The first is hubris, born out of success. So like, we did it. Look how great we are. Yes. And then there is, I can't remember the second one. How the mighty fall. Let me just uh, Google that. The third one is, which is the pinnacle before we start to fall, is undisciplined pursuit of more. The
Hmm.
undisciplined pursuit of more. And this is what
Right.
I'm talking about with greed. Like it's like hubris driving the engine, and then we're like, let's get more, 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 more until we rape and pillage the entire earth for all of its resources and we kill ourselves.
Yeah. That's good. Undisciplined
Pursuit of more.
pursuit of more.
Yeah.
Yeah. More for more's sake.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's right. I can get that as a working definition of greed. That makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah.
Just
Sorry. The
undisciplined.
second,
Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the second stage is undisciplined pursuit of more. So hubris, born of success, step one. Step two, undisciplined pursuit of more. Step three, we're at the peak where we are about to fall down the cliff, is denial of risk and peril. Denial of risk and peril. So here we are at the pinnacle of all of our ego and our chasing and hustle and grind key performance indicators, and we're denying any risk. We're like, no, there's no global warming. No, we're not going to kill ourselves. No, there's no peril here. And
Right.
then
Science will save us.
yeah, if you don't get mindful, if you don't notice and have awareness for
Mhm.
these things. Stage 4, down the mountain here, is grasping for salvation.
Mm.
Stage 4 is like, oh shit, what have we done? We went too far. Crap. Oh my God. And then stage 5 is capitulation to irrelevance or death. And this is about business. His book is about businesses who fall, but I don't think it's
Well,
preposterous to say
businesses are
that.
just, yeah, businesses are just made up of people. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like a business is a thing in, that's like
Yeah.
one of those, what's one of those times where people go, oh, you made that word up. As,
Right, right,
as
right.
opposed to what? The
Yeah.
organic, authentic words, the words that they found in nature.
Yeah. Words found in nature. Yeah.
We make it all up. Businesses are really people. They're is a possible expression of a human being is
Yeah.
to create a business. Um, so I like that. Jim is absolutely brilliant. I say Jim like I know him.
Yeah. Your
Um,
friend, your
oh
buddy.
yeah, Jimbo. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Jim, does he come to Burning Chair? I got to notice. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
he's on the
It's
guest list.
funny though. He drinks Tom Collins's, which is so fucking weird. That's always confuses me.
That's hilarious. Got to stay
Yeah.
on brand.
Okay. Yeah, we have to make a drink called the Jim Collins. Because it makes you go from good to great.
Hey.
Hey, well, I'll be here all week. Okay. Um, there is so it's interesting. This is cottywomple that we should take on, but
Yeah.
what's the I always relate somehow I heard and stuck with me as true, and I don't know that it's true. Now that I'm thinking about it, but ego is a Freudian
Yeah.
distinction,
Yeah.
and is there, as opposed to ego as a Eastern Buddhist principle or distinction, are there differences? Did Freud get it from Buddhism? Is I literally I'm an idiot.
I'd never heard ego in a Buddhist context. I've always heard it as a Freud thing.
Oh, because well, the releasing of one's ego
Hmm.
the uh, is the is the access to enlightenment, that when you
Okay.
lose your sense of me over here,
Yeah.
distinct, separate,
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
as an identity,
Got it.
all those are inside the Buddhist
Uh-huh.
concept of ego. And again, knowing enough to be dangerous
Yeah. Right.
is the distinction. Knowing just enough
Sure.
of language to be dangerous and have actually no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But then speak to what you made you think of the ego
But you
part.
started to, you start talking about that relationship between mindfulness and greed, and it's packed in that world of
Mm.
ego
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
I need more. There's
Right.
again another meme kind of conversation that floats around, is that if there was a monkey that was hoarding more bananas than they could ever eat,
Mm.
you would analyze that monkey as, you would diagnose that monkey as some sort of disorder, that would be,
Mm.
if he was saving more
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
that he could eat in 3 lifetimes. But we phrase that in our businesses,
Yeah.
the billionaire phenomena,
Yeah.
that more money than they could ever spend. Um,
Right.
and
Huh.
that's, and certainly in the American political arena right now, you're seeing the unfolding of the consequences of unmitigated greed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
without getting into the distinct political ramifications of, or my opinion about what's happening, you can look to see that there's that much wealth consolidated amongst so few people,
Right.
that
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
bananas being hoarded by so few people, while the majority of monkeys have not barely a
You can
sustenance
do it. You
level.
got it.
There you
You
go.
got it.
Sustenance level of the ability
Yeah.
to speak.
Uh-huh.
Um, is something of a sociopathic disorder on some level.
Yeah. Right.
Um, Yeah,
But it's the game we play. It's the game we play in at least a Western society, like in a free market where it's like, and not, we don't have to fully go into spiral dynamics, but if anybody listening is into spiral dynamics, like this is sort of what happens at the stage of Orange, where in an individual theme, innovation, getting what's mine at any at the expense. If everybody else is doing it, it's okay for me to do it. At that level of awareness, that's the game they play at Orange. And so I just think that there's a this really goes all the way back to the beginning of our podcast when we talk about gravitational pull of
hmm
hustle culture, Lamborghini leaning. Like, who needs 20 cars? Who needs 20 Lamborghinis?
right.
Like, that's the undisciplined pursuit of more. Like, nobody needs that. And I've done that, by the way. I've done it where, but okay, so hang on. There's a couple things here. One is I've can many times see where in my life I set goals to get more because I wanted to see what I could become who do I have to be to achieve that? Like, I want to grow myself in the name of personal development. I'm going to set a big target and I'm going to go pursue it. And it's going to be great for me because I'll grow. But I also realized that took me away from my, what I would say is my calling or the heart of things. It distracted me. It blinded me by bling bling and shiny vision boards, oh, airplanes and all sorts of shit on my vision board that were like, it's not bad to have an airplane, but I'm like, but that was never the heart. That was never my heart from a mindful place. That wasn't what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's good. So this episode or this conversation really strikes me as the heart of one of the things that we do is just create earworms, things to contemplate, because there's a million places to go inside what you just said. So
Yeah.
there's one
Okay.
is, what's the book that I can't read? The guy that just sat and meditated for
Oh yeah, yeah. Surrender experiment.
Surrender Experiment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That world, um, of, just letting go of all the, that I don't know where I made that connection in what you were just saying, but there was that world that showed up for me.
Hmm.
There's also just the sort of the Buddhist idea of, having living simply,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah, yeah. Right.
how we measure success is in this conversation somewhere. You
Yeah.
know, do we measure success by the degree to which we're fulfilled? Do we read? Because if you're, you know, constantly seeking validation in your bank account
Right.
versus your relationships, what is it to be a rich person? A wealthy person? Is it health? Is it friends? Is it, degree of intimacy that you have?
Yeah.
Is it fulfillment? Is it 20 Lamborghinis? Is 20 enough?
Right.
And certainly there's a psychological conversation where that 20 Lamborghini thing is trying to fill a hole that
Yeah.
can't be filled
Right.
by things, that um the Buddhist idea of being enough as you are,
Right.
that there are no number of things that are going to grant that level of peace and fulfillment. There's no, that if you're constantly seeking from the outside the things,
Yeah.
that's the source of dukkha, of suffering, is, the accumulation of stuff in a
Right.
world that is inherently impermanent, the lack of degree to which you are, you know, at peace with how it is, which is impermanent. You just can't get enough stuff to
Yeah.
fill that hole. It's not, there's no end to that. You know, and then I can see how that leads to the
Right. Yeah.
curve, the cliff.
Right.
There's just so much in that conversation to parse out. And then there's, okay, well, there's needs to be some desire for more, something more
Yeah.
peace, more satisfaction, more, something that has one either go inward or outward to discover that.
I wonder, yeah, I mean, so I like that because I feel like there's a part of me as a visionary person that wants to create an impact. I just, and I think we could be behaving better and differently on this planet.
Mhm.
And so I think there are people who also are noticing that breakdown in behavior and are like, can't we do better? And yet I don't know that we're finding each other to come together to have that conversation. So for me, the game I've been playing now and working on is and what I think sort of scratches the itch for more for me is more people having the conversation, not necessarily more profit for me. Hey, how does Chris fill his coffers with tons of bananas? Is not the game I'm playing. I'm playing the game called How Do We Find Each Other? And that's giving me enough innovation or drive to say, I want to keep looking under rocks to find out how do I play this game. And so, but it's also, I think, bridging some mindfulness about how do I be the change I want to see in the world? So I can have
Mhm.
both. I can both live in my purpose and pursue more, but the pursuit of more isn't about something for me. It's about something for us.
For
And I think
people.
that's different.
Yeah, and I think that's at the heart of what it is to be human is, and I've certainly discovered that, and just in all the introductions to the form I've ever led, and it's a really common question to ask is how many of you want to have your life make a difference? How many of you want to be a contribution in the world?
Right.
And I
Yes.
have yet to meet someone who answers that question in the negative.
Right.
There's no one,
Right.
at the heart of what it is to be human is to be a contribution to people. And I know Adam Smith talks about this. This is interesting. I'm going to look this up real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a interesting talk by Norman Fisher, who was talking about Adam Smith,
Yeah.
basically the grandfather of capitalism. Hang on a second.
Yeah. Wealth of Nations guy. Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. Yeah, this is a good Cotty there because there's so many different pieces that come up for me. um, yeah.
Hang on. Let's just see what he says about benevolence. So Smith argues that individuals act out of self-interest rather than benevolence when engaging in economic activities. He emphasizes that people are motivated by their own advantages and self-love rather than the desire to help others. Smith's perspective highlights the importance of self-interest in driving economic transactions. He suggests that even though individuals may not act out of benevolence, their pursuit of self-interest ultimately benefits society as a whole. Um,
And this was written 1700s, right?
yeah,
Or was this 1800s, 1700s?
18, let's see.
Because I think that impacts a little bit of like where was the level of awareness culturally at the time, and what is it bloomed into? What it not bloomed is probably not the right word.
1776.
Yeah, that makes total sense, right? Because here if I mean just put that in context. Here we are as a brand new nation trying to free ourselves from the tyranny of England and the crown. And who, if you think about that, the crown at the time really is making the decisions for the people. There was no democracy. You don't really have a say. And so here's this new idea, like if we all could act on our own interests instead of the interests of the crown, this would be good for the world. But I think that in its original idea, I mean, I can just fast forward 200 years. I can totally see the hubris born of success as a nation, the hubris that came out of people trying to get their own, provide for themselves, which was great. Only now, 200 years, 200, 150 years later, I feel like we've bastardized a little bit. We've kind of moved past the heart and intent of that.
Yeah, so they're both approaching the idea of happiness from separate directions that um that individuals acting out of self-interest produce positive outcomes of the whole, positive outcomes for the whole. And the Buddhists thought that, happiness is not a function of,
Mm.
uh, it's interesting because the idea, the connection there for me is that self-interest, that there's a, that our self-interest, there's that's our work, is that tension between self-interest as a um, expression of a business and our pursuit of economic advantage as the fulfillment of self-interest, which benefits society as a whole when people are fulfilled out of expressing themselves
Yeah.
in that way. You then have a group of people that are satisfied because they're fully being expressed. And if you do that, see, that's you didn't say unchecked. What is it? The
Undisciplined.
undisciplined. But if you apply a discipline to that growth where you're
Mm.
constantly checking,
Hmm.
is this a function of simply grabbing more bananas to get more bananas, or is
Right.
this, am I already satisfied? And then this comes into where the surrender experiment comes into play, is am I
Yeah.
fully pursuing my expression of self-interest? And there's the self, little s, like
Yeah.
me, and then there's self, the big S, self
Yeah.
of humanity,
Yeah.
right? Am I acting in the self, big S, self of
Right.
the big self-interest, the larger self-interest? Are those two things balanced? Are they, am I disciplining because I think it's also natural to be, you know, self-preservation, little
Sure.
self-preservation, little self, like I know that I get worried that, okay, well, if I gave up my self-interest, I wouldn't have anything. I would, be destitute.
Sure.
And there's, that level of
Mm.
self that one must stay interested in, and yet to do it in an undisciplined manner,
Yeah.
do
Right.
it
Good.
without an acknowledgement that there is a larger self that
Yeah.
also needs tending to, that my connection to you is my little self-interest, somehow also at the same time damaging the self of humanity, right? Am I,
Right.
you know, drilling for oil in Yellowstone,
Right.
right? Like, well, that would
Yeah.
be my little s self-interest running rampant against the
Yeah.
quality of the life for the larger whole.
Yeah. Right.
Is there a balance between those, which I think is the heart of what the surrender experiment really came to? That when you, and we've both found that when you're, and this is Esther Hicks 101, like if you're guided by source and you're acting in a way that's congruent with contributing to the whole of something,
Yeah.
that little s gets taken care of as well. That there's,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about a dearth of resources, that there's plenty of resources for
Yeah.
each
Right.
individual to tap into when one's responsible for the relationship between the big self and the little self. So I can
Yeah.
barely get my head around, like in saying it, I can hear myself saying it, but it's not yet a
Yeah.
realized experience.
I mean, I hear a couple of things. One is I hear Zig Ziglar in there, like help enough people get what they want and you'll get
Right.
what you want. So my self-interest is taken care of when I take care of others people's interest. Like if I can, in fact, that's sort of what a free market is. If your business doesn't solve a problem for others, how would you get the money? But so that's one thought, right? My self-interest is taken care of when I help others in what they're trying to do. And I like that. I also, I think I've mentioned to you before, a book I read a couple years ago called Agenda for a New Economy. Did I tell you about that? Or do you remember that? It was written probably like 2000, early 2000s. And what I liked about it was it really looked at sort of the move from Main Street to Wall Street, that there for a long time there was a small business thing that really drove the economy of America. And then it became this popular thing to take a company public, and you saw venture capital popping up, and you saw all of these people trying to take companies public, and now all this attention on the stock market. And so you see like whereas Main Street, there are no shareholders I'm accountable to. I'm simply trying to provide a service for my community. Wall Street, the accountability is to the shareholder. And so every quarter, there is a demand to do something in order to produce a return for the stockholders, which is exactly what drives you into an undisciplined pursuit of more and then denial of risk. Because you're like, the viability, the board of directors of this public company is going to squeeze us tighter because we need to show a quarter over quarter return, an increase. And if we don't, we're going to get slapped by board of directors because we're not fulfilling the mission of a publicly traded company, which is to the stockholder, not to the community. And I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. I really do have to find this Norman Fisher talk that I was I got to find this and look at this, because Norman Fisher made a connection between Adam Smith and benevolence that I thought super interesting. And I don't know quite where it went or what he was saying, because it's one of those I listened to and it's like, oh, that's really good. And I can't think of what he was saying. Let's see, where do I have that?
As you look at that, I like the phrase, like a benevolent economy. Like I really like that, feels good to me. A benevolent marketplace, benevolent economy or marketplace. I think it shifts the game from Lamborghinis, to supporting each other. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something.
While you look that up,
Very good.
The other thought that's been in my head in this conversation is Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans. Like, you don't need everybody. You don't need an undisciplined pursuit of let's have gazillion people. Like, there is let's play the game called 1,000. And I love that he uses the Grateful Dead, which I know you would love, as an example of really just find your true fans and let the rest take care of itself. I mean, if you thought about what most people's financial need, how much do I need to make to be comfortable, not to scrape by? Maybe I don't have 20 Lamborghinis, but how much do we need to be comfortable? And depending on the price point and what you service and how you set up your containers and structures, whatever, 1,000 people could get it done. But that's not the culture of business. Like, I remember being in real estate, and the company that I was with would totally teach in these workshops, okay, set a goal, now double it. It was, why am I doubling it? I think the exercise was to practice stretching my brain to think bigger. Okay, great. Thank you for the exercise and the lesson in thinking bigger. But they never backfilled it with any sort of purpose other than, like, they didn't say, why do I double it? Why think bigger? It was just set a goal for more. Set a goal for more. And they didn't invite students to think about, why would you want more? And I don't think that's uncommon in the group think and the sheeple herding mentality of people today, where we're just like, more, like 2 Comma Club, baby. Come on, bring me the 2 Comma Club trophy. Can't wait to be in that. Because it's a status symbol. It's like, this, look at what I did. Like, do you see that 2 Comma Club thing behind me? Like, badge of honor.
Addiction can be a struggle, trapped in a...
Yeah, that's such a big deal, like that opportunity to sort of deal with that dichotomy, that tension there.
Right.
God, I know I saved this thing.
We could do it in a future episode where we were like 2.0, like, let's come back and revisit the Norman Fisher benevolent. We'll make it an episode on benevolent something or other.
Yeah.
I'm trying, it's hard to talk and find something at the same time. So I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm taking my own bets over here, whether you find it.
Right. Um, yeah, I can't. I'm so upset that I didn't save this thing, and I know I listened to it recently, and I could have sworn I put it in my, uh, watch later
Yeah,
folder.
yeah,
'Cause it's such
yeah.
a good one, and now it's gone, which is
It's
really
okay.
disappointing. Um,
You'll find it. And
yeah,
and let's no, but let's you've brought up Norman Fisher multiple times, and I'd love to just focus on. I mean, I love that topic of benevolence. So that let's just do an episode in the future on that. I think that'd be, and then you'll be present with
yeah,
what he said, and we can take
yeah.
the purple crayon
Right,
for a
'cause
walk on that one.
there was some connection he made between wealth of nations and benevolence, and that they're not diametrically opposed. That there's um, a way of operating the world in which you are both expressing your self-interest by managing the big self-interest.
Yeah, love that.
That those two things are not opposites, they're not opposing. And that's really the world in which you and I are creating for business is,
Yeah,
there's this world in which you get fulfilled as an individual in your pursuit of
yeah,
larger self being fulfilled. And that is the disciplined approach,
yeah,
because the undisciplined approach is you're going to be sucked into the gravitational pull of where's my quarterly
right.
year over year
Yeah,
upgrade, and no one says, wait a minute, you know, um,
right. Yeah,
it's that short-sightedness of business. Where it shows up for me most, the biggest place that I have the biggest place staying centered is in the world of customer service issues. Like this just happened for me. I have this little device, and it measures the CO, it measures the degree to which you're burning fat in your body. It's called a lumen, and you exhale into it, and it gives you a measure of the degree to which your body's burning fat.
oh,
And I've had the device for 5 years. I've used it for maybe 6 months of those 5 years, and the battery is going on it. And I emailed them, and I was like, "Hey, what's the deal?" They they tried to troubleshoot it and didn't work. And they were like, "Okay, well, you should replace this. The battery's probably gone. It'll cost you $150 to replace the battery. Get your new unit for $150. But the whole thing only cost me $200 to begin with." I was like, okay,
yeah,
well, you're using this as a profit center. You put out a product
yeah,
that the battery degrades on over time, and you're going to now,
right.
charge me $150.
Yeah,
It's outrageous to me that they are that short-sighted. The only device that I can think of that does that is my iPhone. And at the very least, first of all, the iPhone is indispensable, and this thing is not.
right.
And the iPhone, when the battery finally goes in 8 years, 10 years, whenever the battery dies on it, and you upgrade, you get an upgraded thing. The whole operating system has been completely radically transformed
Yeah,
in those 8 years. And this device is exactly the same. And rather than looking at it from the perspective of, okay, well, this is an original user, this is an early adopter, we're
yeah,
going to take care of these people. We're going to make sure that they're not a profit center. We don't need to make a profit from
uh-huh.
the replacement of a battery that's
Right.
not, changeable by the consumer. We designed the product so that it's not repairable in any way,
Yeah,
but they're going to use it as a profit center.
yep,
They've decided that that's the business model that they have. And it's just so wildly offensive to me
yeah,
that that's how they treat their customers. That's the sort of, we need to show growth.
yep,
We need to, every opportunity needs to be
right.
taken to make money, versus the long range thinking of, LL Bean, which is, I don't care when you bought this shirt,
Hmm.
we're going to replace it for free. If you send it back, we'll replace it for free
Yeah.
every time. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It's consumable, it's usable, but I'm an LL Bean customer for life. I would never, you know, I never have a problem with an LL Bean product. First of all, their products are built because they know they're going to have to take them back. So they're really super high quality. And the design of it represents what they know they're going to do with it. And they have that relationship to it. These guys do not. These guys are just, hey, if you buy from us, we will take every opportunity.
Right.
We'll,
to squeeze you.
We'll squeeze you. We'll make sure that you, it's like so fucking crazily annoying. And their service on one hand is fine. It's friendly, it's quick, they get back to you, but they do, then they explain their policy.
Yeah.
And I just find it so dehumanizing.
Right.
It's dehumanizing for me. And I believe it's dehumanizing for the customer service rep who actually does express an interest to help, but they're not empowered to help in any way.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to give you a $50 discount.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything else. They're just not able to make a difference, as opposed to Zappos, whose whole business model is, the service reps are completely empowered to spend a huge amount of money to make sure the customer is satisfied. These guys are empowered to do nothing to make sure the customer is satisfied, nothing. And the fact that I expressed my dissatisfaction, just, they kept saying, at some point they kept saying to me, please let us know if there's any, sorry, we understand that you're upset about this. And that's that's what they never said that's what the policy is, but they didn't repeat those words, which are really triggering. And then they'd end it with, let us know if there's anything else we can do. And I was back and I go, please stop saying that.
Right.
There's something else you can do, which leaves me with either you're not listening to me or that you really, you have to say those words at the end of the sentence. Let us know if there's anything we can do, both of which are weird. Don't end your emails with, let us know if there's anything else we can do. Because I already told you what you can do, right? and you refuse to do it. So don't ask me again at the end of this email.
Yeah.
Which was cute because they wrote back and said, okay, I totally understand. Thank you. Hope you have a great day. Which at least is a human response to it.
Right.
But I think it's the dehumanization of it, like when, like Verizon, I would never use Verizon again because their customer service is so dehumanizing. It's so offensive. It's as if the people on the other end of the conversation have never had a customer service issue and don't know what it's like to be frustrated by not being able to get something resolved. And it's like, how are you not a human being in this situation, And it's the dehumanization of the customer that's most maddening to me. And so the device itself is fine. It's not game changing, but it's an interesting device and I enjoy it. And I can buy them for $50 online and I'll get a replacement for $50, which is fine. If they charged me $50 to replace the battery, I would have been totally satisfied.
Right.
It would have been fine because there's no way the battery replacement costs them $150. If it does, then they really got a design problem, and then they're really fucked.
I think, underneath that is it just makes me think about as a company, who's making the decision that says we can't make it right for the customer? Like, what is the thought that's driving the behavior? To me, it comes back to greed. It comes back to an undisciplined pursuit of more. We can't afford that. Like, there's a thought process that is driving those decisions in that culture.
Completely. It's either they get so many requests for replacements that they would go out of business if they honored it. Right. Which is a design issue, which is a product issue, which is, okay, make a better product, my friend. Or they're just idiots. They just don't know, and they think people are sheep, and somehow it strikes me that what they've got in who's running that are engineers,
Yeah.
and that don't really have a sense of what it takes for a business to thrive.
Yeah.
That's just a limiting fundamental way of
Yeah.
operating, that they're just not going to make it right.
And we'll tell ourselves, this is like bringing more of the solopreneur coaching space into this conversation, but one of the popular things to say these days is charge what you're worth. And so, you could be somebody who's running this gadget company and going like, dude, our product is worth what we charge, and it's worth $150 replacement. And now you're at the peak of the stage 3 of this 5-stage process of how the mighty fall, which is denial of risk and peril. You're turning a blind eye to what people are saying explicitly to you that they would rather have. And you're like, nope, we're charging what we're worth, man. We know our worth. And so this is what it is, take it or leave it. And now you're like, okay.
Right. I'll leave it.
Yeah, I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
And it's such a limiter for people. And it really is. It's hubris.
Yeah.
Undisciplined.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's just such a dumb way of operating.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time in business.
Right.
And the businesses that get it really get it. They're like never going away. The LL Bean's been around for 150 years. It's not going away because people that use that service are customers for life.
Yeah. I love that.
It makes no sense to me that's their argument.
Yeah.
And there's no real logic to it.
Yeah. So like, let's tie it off with a bow. Like, what final thoughts on, because we started with greed and we went through the, undisciplined pursuit of more and how the mighty fall and move to benevolence. Like, I'm really feeling like the more that we can collectively, big S self, collectively start to bring some intention and mindfulness to why are we in business? What is the impact we're trying to make? Who are we trying to serve? Not how much are we trying to make? If we could shift our goals from a monetary goal to a impact goal, I don't know. I'm not sure what the mechanism is, but clearly to me, there needs to be a shift in how collectively we're reaching for more. Let's not reach for more profit at the expense of people. Let's reach for more people and trust that more profit will come as a result.
And that's, you get right down to, go back to the Grateful Dead model or the Rick Rubin models that, the Rick Rubin model is interesting because you don't think about the audience.
Right.
That's, he specifically says you don't think about the audience, right? You create for the sake of creating, and then your tribe will come. And, the Grateful Dead's model on that was like, great, when we're done with it, we can give it away. We'll have a taper section. We'll have a section where people can get this for free and spread this.
Yeah.
And that's that model that we're going to make sure as many people as possible get it, because that's not our goal isn't to sell records. Our goal is to make music. Our goal is to have people feel what we feel, and they're part of the process. And the people that are dancing with us, literally dancing with us, are the only thing that we're particularly interested in is having them be satisfied.
Yeah.
So what are they asking for? Great. Well, we can do that. It doesn't, and it looked to everyone at the time when they were doing it like, this is the stupidest thing you can possibly do. You don't give away music, you sell music. That's how you, and they were like, no, that's not how we do it. And, the most profitable band in the world, really, by a long shot.
Wow.
And that's the name of the game is, do you have, in your, that combination of, look, we're not doing this to sell to people. We're doing this to do it.
Yeah.
Right. We're doing it because this is what makes us happy. And we're trusting that enough people will pick up on it. If it's of a good, if we're true enough to ourselves, enough people will pick up on it. We don't have to worry about that. And in the world of this gadget,
Yeah.
You know, we're going to just work on this gadget and we're going to make sure as many people as possible have it and get it and use it and talk about it and talk about our, we're going to make sure it's easy to do business with us.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Yes. So good. Well, who knew where that, I mean, that's the cool part about this format, man. You never know where the purple crayon is going to take us. That was so much in there.
Good. So there's definitely another, I will do the more research on that combination of what Norman Fisher was talking about Adam Smith, and find that and get that. And so that's a whole another topic we can handle.
Love it. Yeah. All right, gang. If you're listening to this on, I know Aaron and his team upload this to YouTube as a podcast. I don't know if you knew that. So if you listen to podcasts on YouTube, it's up there. Obviously, listen on Apple Podcasts or any other sort of podcast player. We'd love it if you gave us a rating, a review. And Aaron, if people want to learn more about your Living a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World book and course, where can they go?
Yep, they can go to thegratefulbreath.com. And the wait list is open for the March program. There's no day or time yet for that cohort. So if you get there now, you can let me know which day and daytime combinations work, and we'll schedule it accordingly. But it's free. It's a 9-week mindfulness meditation training. And I got a great definition of training from my Vipassana teacher last night. Or on Tuesday, which was a training, because training sounds all rigid and like,
yeah,
right? I always think of boot camp when I hear training. But training is anything you do over and over and over with an open heart and an intention to do well.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, right. I love that definition of training. So anything you do over and over and over with an open heart and a commitment and an intention to do well.
Love that. Yeah. It's good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you guys want to learn more about Business Church, it's my latest project. You can go to businesschurch.co and check that out. There are messages there, etc. So feel free to check that out. And we'll see you all next time for our next episode of Mindful CEO.